Hello, everyone, YouTube and Facebook. We are Kevin and Megan. We are Meditation Magazine, and Giovanna's here also doing some of the background work. Oh, actually, you know what we should do, Megan? We should set up our phones to take the video. Do you have your phone set up on your side?
Yes, it is currently recording.
Okay, good. I'm gonna put mine on airplane mode. And I'm going to start recording video. Okay. I'm going to start recording camera. This is the behind the scenes portion of the video. We are setting up the equipment and preparing for Deepak Chopra to arrive.
Yeah.
We're very excited about that. At least I am. I know Megan is too. Oh, there we go. That's nice.
Yes. And everyone, while we are chatting with Deepak, make sure on the YouTube live stream, leave your comments and questions. And this conversation, we want it to be interactive and just, you know, like a bunch of friends just sitting and chatting and talking about real life and, you know, the effects of COVID and what Deepak has been up to. And just, you know, we want to make it like a really just empowering yet fun conversation.
Yeah, that's true. And also really deep. So if you have any deep questions you want to ask, feel free to put them into the chat.
Yes.
All right, hopefully I can get this camera set up. There we go. That works. My camera is rolling. Nice. I'm here in sunny Miami, and Megan is in
quite the opposite place, Kevin. I am in cold, almost snowing Nashville, where it's getting to be below 40 degrees, but it's still amazing.
Yeah, that's nice. It's cool that we can do this. Like the internet technology is amazing.
Yes.
That we can be able to do these types of things from all over the country and all over the world.
That's one of the perks of, like, you know, COVID and everything going on right now. It's, you know, despite not being physically together, we can come together over Zoom, and it's just, it's a great perk.
Yeah. Well, so I want to do some meditation to start out. We have about 3 minutes, I think, until Deepak joins.
Perfect.
Hopefully everything will go well at that point. But in the meantime, let's do a little meditation. You do breath work, right, Megan? You've done a breath work before?
Love breath work.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. So let's, I don't know if you've done specifically the Wim Hof method. I love Wim Hof. He sort of brought this ancient pranayama method of meditation into the modern world. And it's like a very deep kind of breathing. You take a really, really deep breath, like fill up your whole body, and then exhale really hard, but and you're only exhaling maybe like half of your breath, and then you're taking huge breaths, huge deep breaths, and you're doing it rapidly. So let's do it together for a minute.
Yeah.
And then hold your breath out so you're like completely empty of air.
Yes.
Giovanna, did you check the live streams? We're good? Okay, good. It brings up some of your anxiety, but then it kind of bubbles off. Like
feel that, yeah.
Yeah. And then now take a deep breath in, fill your whole torso. Oh, I think that's Deepak Chopra. Let's let him in. Hey, what's up, Deepak Chopra?
Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you. How are you doing?
Hi,
Can
Deepak.
you guys see me?
Yes, we can see you. Can you see us? I hope you can see us.
Can you hear us?
I don't think he can hear us. Hey, Deepak, we can see you.
Hello.
Hi, can you see us?
Can you hear me, see me?
Yes, we can hear you and see you.
I can't hear you well.
You can't hear. Okay. Do you have any audio? No.
I cannot hear you well, guys.
Okay. So try here. I'm going to send you a message.
How about now, Deepak? Can you hear me?
Try to to go in another browser. Hey, Deepak, can
Okay. Okay, let me go to another browser.
Chrome browser, Google Chrome. Okay. Let's see if that works.
I'm on
All
Chrome right now. Can you still hear me, Kevin?
Yes, I can hear you just great. This
Okay.
is hopefully we won't have technical issues. That's kind of like what I've been anxious about all day.
Hey,
trying to set up
it's all good.
these
Yeah,
things.
it is all good.
Yeah. I'm excited to talk to Deepak, but these the technical things is like, what if Deepak can't hear us? Oh no. And
But we don't want to manifest that.
yeah, that's true. It looks like it's already manifested. Hopefully he can get in on the Chrome browser. I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can see that he's Deepak. Can you hear us? Deepak? Okay. I can see that he is trying to access this, but I don't think he can hear us. Deepak, we can't hear you. Well, I'm just going to tell him to keep trying different browsers. I told him to try other browsers, even his phone can work.
True.
So hopefully he can get it working on one of them.
He will. It'll be all good.
Yeah. So while he's trying to do that, there's another type of meditation that I really like that we can try right now.
Yes.
So have you ever done sort of the ancient Buddhist types of breathing where you're just watching the breath flowing in and out without trying to control it?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's try that. That's a little bit more low key. We're just without trying to control it, just notice the breath flowing in and out. You can feel the sensations in your nostrils.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see Deepak again. Let's see. Hey, Deepak, can you hear us now?
How is this?
Well, I can see you and hear you. Can you see us and hear us?
How's this?
Yeah, we can see you and hear you, but
I'm still getting this strange noise.
That's weird.
Oh no.
We can see and hear you, but maybe you can't.
We can see you and hear you. Let me disconnect. Tell Gabriella to get on. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Bye. Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Why am I getting this background noise?
I don't know. Hang on one second.
Are
Let
you
me
hearing
try.
it too? I can't hear you.
Hang on. So can you hear us at all, or you just can't hear at all?
Let me see what's happening, guys. I don't know what's happening. Can you
Okay,
hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, but
Okay.
um,
And
I
you don't hear any background noise, do you?
no, we don't.
Okay,
I
then
have an
that's good
idea.
enough. Let's do it. I'll try and put on my ear pads and see if that works. But
Yes,
we have Gabriella Wright joining us, don't we?
Gabriella. I'm not sure actually. I don't know Gabriella, but maybe Megan. Do you know Gabriella
I do not.
from EBY? Okay,
Oh, is she? Yeah.
How's this?
I can
How's
hear you.
this?
I can hear you. Can you hear us? We can hear
I'm
you just fine.
I'm
Still
still
can hear.
hearing a lot of background noise, but if you don't hear it, then that's fine.
So
How's this?
this is good. Can you hear us? No. Maybe.
I can't hear you.
Oh,
I
let me
cannot
just see
hear
if
you.
I just added one other person named Aaron. Can this person hear? Aaron?
Yeah.
Can you hear?
Aaron, can you hear?
Hey,
Aaron.
Deepak, could you hear me there? Because
Now, yeah, I can hear you very clearly now.
you can hear me. I'm Kevin. Yeah, you can hear Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Oh, hi,
Yes,
hi,
I
Deepak.
can
Nice
hear
to
Kevin.
meet you.
Hi, Megan. Hi.
Hi,
Say hi.
Deepak.
Yes, let's get
We did it,
Gabriella on the
Deepak.
line.
Okay. Gabriella is Gabriella guest 3? I'm trying to add her now.
Okay.
Uh,
Please add her.
so I'm not sure if, so does she have the link? Does Gabriella have the link?
Let me, Aaron would know.
Yeah, she should have the link.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
So while we're waiting for Gabriella, Deepak,
Yeah.
I wanted to show you something. So I don't know if you've seen our magazine in the stores. We're in Barnes & Nobles, Whole Foods, Chapters Indigo, Sprouts, thousands of stores in the United States and Canada.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you've seen us yet, but
I have actually. I have.
that's awesome.
It's an honor to join you.
It's an honor to have you here. You're sort of one of our heroes. You're like the grandfather of meditation in the United States in a lot of ways, and I think that's really cool. So I just wanted to tell you in terms of the format of this.
Yes.
So we're going to try to keep it very conversational, not interviewee, more conversation-y.
Okay.
And we feel it flows better that way. And then the quotes from this conversation will be used in an article for the magazine, for the physical magazine.
Perfect. Okay.
And right now, what we're doing now, including all of the setup, and even before you got on, we're doing a live stream. So like there may be some like little things like the airplanes flying over above or whatever. You can hear it right now. We're streaming to our YouTube and our Facebook.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, great. Thank you. So now I guess we can get started, and Gabrielle can join us whenever she's ready.
Oh, okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Megan, do you want to introduce Deepak to our viewers?
Yes. Deepak, can you hear me?
Yes.
So wonderful.
Yes. It's great to see you.
Yes, it is so wonderful chatting with you today. And first and foremost, thank you so much for taking the time, because both Kevin and I are not only fans, but we also love meditation, wellness, and we are so grateful to be talking with you today.
Well, it's my gratitude as well.
Thank you so much. So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to today's Meditation Magazine live stream. Kevin and I are truly so grateful to be interviewing the one and only Deepak Chopra. He is one of the most iconic wellness leaders of today's generation. He's a public speaker. He has written many best-selling books. He is truly a trailblazer in the wellness, meditation, health space. And we are so excited to be chatting with him.
Thank you. It's an honor. And I see Gabriella has joined us as well.
I'm here.
Hi, Gabriella.
Technical difficulties.
Hi,
Okay.
Gabriella.
Hello. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
This is so amazing. And Deepak, I would love to start off our conversation today by speaking about the amazing Love in Action series partnered up with EBY. And it is so timely because of everything going on in this world. So many people are struggling with anxiety, depression, suicide. So I would love to know more about that and how, that kind of came about.
So let me start, and then I'll ask Gabriella to add and explore this a little more with you.
Yes.
So EBY, as it's called, EBY is called EBY, and it's a company that actually originally started as a micro-lending idea for empowering women. And EBY is actually a lingerie underwear company that actually helps micro-lending, but also helps empowerment of women, and is led by a woman called Renata Black, who's an extraordinary leader that I featured in one of my books called The Soul of Leadership. I then introduced her to Gabriella Wright, who's leading the soul experience of Love in Action. And so that we now have a partnership. And what we're doing is we're creating content for something called Love in Action and Freedom from Suffering. And that's where we are right now. So Gabriella, can you add now where we are with this program?
Yes.
Yes.
So now we have decided with Ebby, which is lovely because Ebby and Renata Black have a real sense of or who their brand goes out to. So this is not just a brand coalition. This is really something that goes beyond and into the audience and what are the needs of. And that's what I love about Ebby. And she realized that the last year, everyone, all of her clientele and her community have been asking about how they can empower themselves whilst during this time of universal unrest and lack of self-esteem, and really there was a sense of need to create a program specifically for women empowerment for their own mental hygiene, to create this mental space that not only heals but empowers them and gives them tools of resiliency to navigate these times, not only now but for their families and the environment and their collective as well. So that's how it started. And that's what we've created. And so right now, as we speak, today you can sign up through the Ebby site and you can receive 3 months for free. Every week there is a new mental hygiene tool and self-inquiry tools. Some are with Deepak, some are with me, and we give you these tools to empower and to create a relationship with this mental space. So there's a lot of angles to this program.
I love that, Gabriella, and truly, I think that this amazing movement could not have come at a better time because, like you mentioned, so many people are just feeling so lost and so hopeless, and just this movement is so positive and it's so powerful, and I just feel so grateful to be speaking with you both today, and this is truly saving so many lives.
Thank you. It's just the beginning. Yeah. And we always say that because I think it's important to realize that we are humble on the journey of learning, and we can only learn through each other's experience and sharing of experience and finding these gems, these mind gems, these experience gems that allow us to build the community. Because alone to heal, it's difficult. But when you're together, the healing is resonating around.
Yes, that's so beautiful. And I just think it's so powerful. And Deepak, I would love to know, how have you paved your own path during this COVID period in our lives? And how have you personally just remained calm and feeling good? Like, what have you been doing every day to feel in the moment and grounded?
Well, first of all, I've been doing that for 40 years. I've been a meditator for 40 years or more, 45 years. And I saw, as the COVID pandemic spread, I saw grief across the human landscape globally. So grief is something I'm very familiar with as a physician. And I've seen people go through the stages of grief all in 1 hour when they were confronted by imminent death in an emergency room. For example, somebody has a heart attack and they know they're going to die. And it's obvious to everyone that they're going to die. They go through certain stages. First, they get victimized. They say, why me? Then they get angry. Then there's hostility. Then there's frustration. Then there's resignation. Then there's helplessness. And many people die tragically in this feeling of extreme helplessness and panic. Once in a while, you see acceptance of what is. And as soon as you see acceptance, you also see peace. And once you see acceptance and peace, you figure out meaning. So as I looked across the landscape of grief across the globe, I realized that everybody's in a different stage. Only some people have found acceptance, peace, and meaning. So for me, the meaning right now is we took our lives for granted. We took existence for granted. Wow. We never felt even gratitude for the fact that we exist and we have awareness of existence. And we can actually wonder about our own existence. And I think if you don't take your existence for granted, your humanity is in a way incomplete. So this led me to basically say, how can I, and I've been doing it for the last 8 months, how can I resurrect my soul, and how can I reinvent my body, and how can I help other people do it? And so that's what I've been doing in the last 8 months with colleagues and champions in the meditation space, like Gabriella and many others, but Gabriella is leading this effort for us now.
Wow, that is so beautiful. And it's such a powerful, joining of two amazing people in teams and forces, and really providing so much awareness for what's going on right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I want to also invite anybody else like Gabriella. I want to consider this as a conversation because you had joined a little bit later. Anybody is welcome to jump in at any point. But I actually have a question for Deepak about the EBI event, and just also just about sort of like a general concept of empowerment versus modesty. I think that there's this strain from like ancient spiritual traditions where the body is to be generally like, modest, covered, things like that. And then in our modern society, we have these sort of ideals that are moving away from that toward freedom and empowerment and vulnerability. And someone like you who's sort of at that nexus between the modern and the ancient, I would love to get your perspective on that sort of modesty versus like vulnerability and empowerment of the body.
Okay, so here we are, Kevin. I've always maintained that so-called self-righteous morality is jealousy with a halo, and frequently cunning hypocrisy. So that's, as far as I'm concerned, about morality in general, how people perceive morality. Having said that, in Eastern wisdom traditions, the 4 goals of life are the following. Artha, which means material success, because without material success, you're always thinking about money, and you're always worried about money. And so if you don't have financial security, it's going to affect your self-esteem. So that's the first goal of life in the Eastern wisdom traditions. Artha, it's called material success, and money is part of it. The second is kama. Kama literally means pleasure, but it also means love. It also means sensuality. It also means sexuality. So in these traditions, sexuality and spirituality go together. And people should not be ashamed of their sexuality. They should be proud of it. But of course, in the context of your personal values, nobody has a right to tell me what my values should be, and I don't have a right to tell anybody else what their values are. But when you are bold about your spirituality and sexuality and your values, then that leads to spiritual fulfillment. That's the second goal of life. The third goal of life is called dharma. It's finding your higher purpose. And your higher purpose means service, which is exactly what we're talking about, love in action. And the fourth goal of life is moksha, which is spiritual enlightenment. So whatever we're doing with EBI, with any other partner, actually we keep these 4 goals in mind with total authenticity, with total integrity, with a higher purpose, and with responsibility. I hope that answers your question. Gabriella is a partner in Never Alone and Love in Action, which is a division of Chopra Foundation. So Gabriella is a founder of Never Alone with me, and the CEO of the Chopra Foundation, Punacha Machaya. We work as a team.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's a beautiful answer. I didn't, to understand that the ancient traditions had sort of the first 2 like goals of life to be in the material realm. I think that's a very cool thing to understand. It's like a balance. I think a lot of the modern, well, some of the other religious traditions have gotten in another direction where the material is sort of seen as like lesser than the spiritual goals, and also sort of pushed out in a lot of ways and repressed.
Yeah, so you have all these people who are celibate and have taken a vow of poverty, but all they think about is money and sex.
That's true. This reminds me of. I'm sure you're familiar with Osho. It reminds me of his philosophy of spiritual materialism, and I know that a lot of people don't like to talk about Osho nowadays because he's kind of a hot topic, especially with that documentary that came out recently. I think he said a lot of beautiful things, and I know he definitely did dig into the material a lot. Do you think he was living in line with those four goals that you were talking about?
I don't ever comment on other people's personal traits and habits, but for some of the material that he expressed and so eloquently, I admire him. Where his personal life was, it's none of my business.
Yeah, I get that, and I totally respect that. I actually would prefer to actually ask you more about yourself. I think you're such like an iconic figure at this point, and in the millennial generation that Megan and I guess Gabriella come from, we sort of see you as like Deepak Chopra. It's like this like sort of like guy that came from like sort of heaven in the past, and he's now like changed the whole culture of the United States through your wisdom. But I guess a lot of millennials probably don't know your story all the way from like as a child. Like, how did you end up being this? How did you end up being Deepak Chopra?
I have to give credit to my mother and my parents. My mother said there are two goddesses that you should pay attention to. One is the goddess of wisdom. Her name is Saraswati. The other is the goddess of abundance and wealth. Her name is Lakshmi. So you go and chase and woo this goddess of wisdom, and then Lakshmi will get jealous and she will chase you.
Wow.
So I believe my mother, and this is what happened. Now, as far as being iconic, all you have to do is talk to my wife and my kids, and you'll see that I'm not iconic at all.
It's great to be brought back down to a very primal state of being, which is wonderful.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's important to stay humble for sure. So I actually was sort of thinking about, what was your life like as a child? Were you already into, since your mom was telling you about these sort of spiritual things, did you have like a spiritual inclination as a child that led you sort of down this path that you've gone? Or did that develop as you were older?
Actually, what happened is when I was about 6 or 7, I was living with my grandparents. My parents were in England at that time. My father was studying to be a cardiologist. And one day we got a telegram from my dad that he had become a member of the Royal College of Physicians in England. My grandfather was so excited that he fired a few rifle shots into the air, took us to a movie, Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves, took us to a carnival, and then he died in the middle of the night. And I was just totally in grief. I had no idea what had happened. And I started to wonder about the mystery of death. And I was fascinated by what is the meaning of death. And that's why I went to medical school, honestly. I also wanted to be a writer. And that has driven me and my spiritual quest all my life. Having said that, as a medical student, I smoked cigarettes, I drank alcohol. As a resident, I was stressed. I was taking care of many patients and I couldn't take care of myself. So I went back to meditation in a very structured way, and that changed my life.
Wow. So then you sort of found the meditation at that point, or you had been meditating before also?
In my family, there was a tradition of meditation and prayer and rituals, which I was very familiar with, but I did not have a discipline as I do now of regular daily practice of meditation, pranayam, yoga, mind-body coordination, emotional resilience, and intelligence. I didn't have a practice, but I have had it now for the last 45 years.
Wow. Yeah, it's so you mentioned pranayama and meditation, and of course pranayama is a type of meditation. But what types of meditation do you practice?
Okay, so because now we have Gabriella as part of our team, Gabriella has been a teacher of Buddhist meditation for at least I think 18, 20 years herself. Even though she's only 38, she's been teaching meditation and Buddhist meditation, uh, particularly Vipassana types of meditation.
Nice. That's how I
And
started too. Theravada.
yes, so there we are. And she's doing that, but she's also a certified teacher of primordial sound or mantra meditation. So we teach meditation in all its aspects: self-reflection, vipassana, awareness of body, awareness of mental space, awareness of relationship, awareness of the ecosystem, awareness of the universe, awareness of awareness. And this partnership with Gabriella has taken it to a new level. Gabriella, do you want to say anything in conjunction with that?
No, I think you're completely right. We're the whole aspect of. I'm going to go back to the freedom from suffering. Freedom from suffering is really one of the main missions, I would say, of the Chopra Foundation. And this is, I would say this is the realm where our partnership and Never Alone was born, and also Love in Action is born. And it's important to state that because meditation and mind-body awareness and all the different, I would say, distinctions of awareness allows you to access ultimate freedom. And what does that mean? It means that you are creating a path to living a more joyful life, to experience not freedom in the future, of the future hope of whether it's liberation or enlightenment, if we were to speak from the lens of more ancient scriptures, in that sense that you mentioned before. But today, what does it mean? What does freedom from suffering mean? And that means experiencing our sense of presence, not the present moment, but a sense of presence. And these tools allow you to dive into this extraordinary, almost nameless place, that is all encompassing. And these are what we're working on. And Love in Action are ways to reach and experience our presence that will fulfill that.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, and I hope that helps Kevin and Megan.
Yeah, that's very powerful, and thank you, Gabriella, for that comprehensive explanation. I was particularly thinking about talking about freedom from suffering and ultimate freedom, and diving into the ultimate, or the that presence. And one of the things that has fascinated me since I was a kid, actually, is sort of this idea of like peak experiences. And it sort of goes along with the idea of like why we meditate. It's not just for the peak experiences, it's for the whole journey. But the peak experiences have always interested me, specifically spiritual awakening and enlightenment and things like that. They call it Satori or Moksha. Deepak, I wanted to ask you, do you see those as the same thing, like enlightenment, awakening, moksha, Satori, or are those like different states?
No, they're all the same. But let me tell you what we do know about peak experiences. So when you talk to athletes about peak experiences, or musicians or entertainers, who've had these moments in ballet, or, you talk to the great athletes of our time, they've all had peak experiences. And so what happens in peak experiences, in that moment, there's no resistance, there's no regret, there's no anticipation. Everything appears in slow motion, and even sound disappears. Long time ago, I was training, this is like 30 years ago, I was working with Joe Namath. At that time, he was one of the most important football players of all time. And he would tell me that even in the moment of peak performance, the crowd was making a lot of noise, but he couldn't hear anything. He would anticipate where the ball was going before it went there. And it was like the game was playing itself out through him. So that's a peak experience in sports, but it's also a peak experience sometimes in sexuality. It's a peak experience in prayer. It can be in music. It can be in dance. It can be in ballet. That's one thing. Now you look at the religious experience. Not the religious ideology, but the religious experience. What do you find? We find three things. One, we find what we call transcendence, that the person feels that they are not in space-time or causality. They're not in the world of space-time and causality. They have transcended to another domain of existence, which is beyond space and time. First experience that we can call religious. The second is the emergence of Platonic values like truth, goodness, beauty, harmony, love, compassion, joy, equanimity, and kindness. And the third is the loss of the fear of death. This is universal. So once again, transcendence, Platonic values, and loss of the fear of death. And that is also consistent with the peak experience. Now, people, religious founders, want to express that, and people want to experience that, but what do? They end up worshipping the prophet instead of wanting the experience for themselves. So, religion is believing somebody else's experience. Spirituality is having your own experience. So if Jesus or whoever, Buddha, is pointing their finger to the moon, you should be looking at the moon instead of worshipping the finger, which is what most people end up doing. Love in action, peak experiences, religious experience, spirituality, whatever you call it, the moksha, nirvana, they all mean the same thing.
Yes. That's amazing. I would love to know, Deepak and Gabriella, if you both could just, let's say there's someone listening and watching who is feeling, it's the end of the year, it's the holidays, there's COVID, there's a lot of buildup anxiety, there's a lot of energy flowing around the globe. What would be your best tip for how anyone can go back to feeling the nirvana, the good feeling? How can people shift their state back into that good flow space rather than down the path of fear?
Yeah, I'll say a few things and I'll let Gabriella take over after that, because I think the first thing is to manage stress right now. Everybody is stressed. There are 3 pandemics going on. There's so much happening. The pandemic of COVID-19, financial crisis, stress, inflammation, chronic disease, and morbidity and mortality from all these diseases that we have right now. Not only chronic diseases, but the acute pandemic situation as well. So we need to manage stress, number one, and then slowly get to freedom from suffering and nirvana, for which we have created a course that Gabriella is teaching, and she can say something more about it.
Yes. I think to go back to the practicality of, yes, this is the end of the year. It's often seen as a sense of where you need your family. You rejoice in the holidays of finding safety with your family and the rejoice of celebration. Now, there have been many universal tragedies this year. And we have also gone through, we say and we know that what you see is a projection of your own self.
Yes.
So what's important is to understand and realize that it's okay to experience this projection, because you are also experiencing that deep fire of transformation. And yes, fire burns, it does. But water appeases fire. And water is the sense of vulnerability. And those are our stories. So if we can share the stories with our family and empower the healing and accept that just sense of being in the moment, in this presence, in this vulnerable moment, then I think, despite not being able to be reconnected maybe physically with our families, maybe losing the loved ones during this year, maybe experiencing near-death experiences or extreme anxiety and depression and so forth and separation, but one can still find a sense of self there. And that sense is a deep nurturing, and it's really up to oneself to nurture that and to know that it's okay and that you're not alone in that sense of nurturing and isolation.
That's so true, Gabriella, and well said, because I think so many people tend to forget that there is a way of the world, and whatever, people believe in, religious, spirituality, I think, in my opinion, I really do believe that COVID is happening for a higher purpose. And I really strongly feel that this is just an energetic shift that the whole entire planet needed. And although it's challenging and scary and people are being affected in so many different ways, I think that there is a power in surrendering to the present moment, because that's really all that we have.
Mm-hmm. And then when you surrender to the present moment, what happens is what I mentioned earlier. You're experiencing a sense of presence. And when that presence becomes into being, what are the qualities of that presence? There's self-love, there's peace, there's a form of serenity, there's a form of, of connectedness that goes beyond just, we have a tendency to categorize things.
Yes.
Separate things in our mind.
Yes.
Family, work, stress, depression. Actually, it's all one thing. So through the sense of presence and surrendering, we're able to expand the horizons and the limits that has self-imposed us, self-imposed on us, and that we've self-imposed.
Yes.
So this is a larger conversation, but it's just to stem the seed. And if you stem the seed that Deepak talks about, the sankalpa, the intention, then you are able to create an unforeseen future of presence, of being.
Yes.
The course that we're teaching, Gabriella is teaching, Freedom from Suffering and Love in Action, has several aspects to it. So first aspect is just what are the keys to peace and love and the stages of love. So we are using that. We're using methodologies for conflict resolution, supporting each other, and actually setting intentions. So it's a very comprehensive course that Gabriella will be teaching through our nonprofit, which is Love in Action, which is part of the Chopra Foundation.
Yes, that is so powerful.
And it's all connected, So going back to the full circle of Ebby, Renata Black, women empowerment, this is just the beginning. These are the steps that you can take towards experiencing your presence, the mental place.
And we have other collaborators as part of this. We have Eva Longoria, we have Sofia Vergara, we have a lot of what I would call conscious, nurturing,
leaders,
feminine energy in this whole enterprise that Gabriella is leading.
Oh, that's awesome. That sounds like a really great event and cause. And I want to jump into a couple of questions from our audience. There's one for you, Deepak. So apparently you've been posting on your Instagram about Tat Tvam Asi.
Yeah.
So Forrest was asking, what does that mean? What is Tat Tvam Asi, and how can we apply it to our lives?
Okay, so that Tat Tvam Asi is a very ancient, what is called Mahavakya. Maha means big idea, and big sutra. Sutra is a stitch in consciousness, and it accompanies what Gabriella just called sankalpa, intention, which has infinite organizing power. So Tat Tvam Asi, literally translated, means you are that, I am that, all this is that, and that alone is, which means that each of us is the divine pretending to be human. In other words, we're all God in drag.
Ramdas.
Yeah, Ramdas quote. Yeah.
So that's what Tat Tvam Asi means.
Wow. Yeah.
You are the divine, I am the divine, and there is only the divine.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I kind of miss Ram Dass. He was one of those beautiful souls in this world.
Both Gabriella and I had the fortune of having speak at our last course in Hawaii, and that was his last public event.
Wow. Yeah. So, he was a beautiful soul. we'll all miss
Yes.
him, but his wisdom will remain here in this world, and hopefully bring more people toward that consciousness and toward that awakening and enlightenment that we spoke of earlier. I actually was thinking about that, your what you were saying about awakening and enlightenment earlier, and a lot of people, I think, see it as like somebody is either awake or they're not. Maybe that's how you see it too. To me, I kind of see it as like a journey, where you can you kind of become more awake over time. You kind of wake up over time. I wanted to get your perspective on this, because I know there's so many different opinions, different ways of seeing it, and I would love to hear from you. Do you see it as awakening and enlightenment are like black and white, like you're either awake or you're not, or is it more of like a sort of a journey that you become more awake over time?
Well, there were people like J. Krishnamurti, Ramana Sri Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, Yogananda, who were spontaneously awake. They were what we call spiritual geniuses or anomalies. For most people, it's like a fruit that ripens over time, and then one day it falls, and then there's no going back. They say, like a child that's born can't return to the womb. When you're fully awake, there's no way of going back. Now, in many ways, it's like waking up in the morning. When you wake up in the morning, you're familiar with the dream, and then it starts to go away, and then you remember that you were fast asleep and it was blissful, and then you suddenly wake up, and then you're in it. Okay? Right now, we are in what is called a waking dream. This is a vivid dream in a lucid now, in the presence that Gabriella spoke about. We are right now in a lucid dream, vivid now. So Wittgenstein, the great German philosopher, he said, we are asleep. Our life is a dream. But once in a while, we wake up enough to know that we are dreaming. So I think everyone has that experience of waking up to know that they're dreaming, but they can't sustain it. And so with spiritual practice, sadhana, that blossoms and flowers till the fruit falls. I hope that helps.
Yeah. So what are we dreaming and what are we waking up to? You know what I mean? Like, what is the dream state and what is a thing that we're awakening to?
The dream state is karma, which is recycled habits and social conditioning and the fragmented mind that results in what we call a pain body. And pain, pleasure body go together because, when you have pleasure, you're worried about how long it's going to last, and that causes pain. So suffering is being addicted either to pain or pleasure, but liberation is enjoying and being fully aware in the midst of pain and pleasure. The karmic program creates what is called the pain body, and liberation creates what the Buddhists call the rainbow body, which is the subtle body. But then beyond that, something called the bliss body, which is transparent body and luminous world as the experience, and that's fully awake. And in that, you can choreograph and orchestrate and upgrade the dream if you want to, and you're not a nightmare when it happens once in a while.
Wow. So to try to like understand that in my own words is the universe is sort of like that transparent body is kind of like everything, like existence, and then the dream is sort of that you are this small human, but really you are the whole of it, the entire thing.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you experience it as presence.
Wow.
And we experience it as presence, not only in ourselves, but the same presence, the same divine presence pervades and permeates everything. That is Tat Tvam Asi.
Yeah, that oh wow, that's the Tat Tvam Asi. Yeah, so that's the consciousness that is everything, the universe consciousness, and this brings me to something that I really wanted to talk to you about. I think that it's really lacking in the discourse right now. I see people like Joe Rogan, Michael Shermer, and you argue with these guys a lot. Sam Harris. I love to watch you guys arguing together because it's really fleshing out, to me, it seems like it's fleshing out the difference between idealism and physicalism. You know what I mean? Philosophical idealism versus philosophical idealism. Physicalism and idealism are these sort of old concepts where some people see the universe as, well, some people see existence as arising principally from matter, and then consciousness comes from matter. So like the universe is like a bunch of random matter, and then I pop up from this planet and I have this brain because it evolved, and then consciousness comes from the brain that came from the matter. But then then the idealists, just so that our viewers understand this, because it's like a pretty deep concept, idealism is more of this sort of concept of the opposite. It's consciousness is everything, and then matter arises from consciousness. And of course there's variations of these, and there's dualism where you have sort of both are arising from each other. And to me, when I watch the debates between you and Michael Shermer, you and Sam Harris, and when I see Joe Rogan talking about it, I think they don't understand that maybe that the difference in perspective is coming from idealism versus physicalism. And I wanted to get your perspective. Do you feel do you feel like the universe comes from matter or from consciousness? Like, does matter come from consciousness or vice versa?
Okay, so first of all, Kevin, that debate has been going on forever in the wisdom traditions of India. That debate has been going on in every circle, Buddhist and agnostic and atheist and idealist. I'm not an idealist and I'm not a physicalist. I think those are philosophies that are incomplete. What I'm arguing about and have argued about with Shermer and Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins and Joe Rogan is that their philosophies are based on something called naive realism. Naive realism dominates all of scientific dialogue. So even Einstein was a naive realist. And what is naive realism means? Naive realism is based on the notion that the physical world exists exactly as it is perceived by the 5 human senses, even if no one is observing it. So that, on the face of it, that's ridiculous. The physical universe exists as perceived by the 5 human senses. So what about an insect with 100 eyes? What about a dolphin? What about a bat that experiences the world through the echo of ultrasound? What about bees that navigate through ultraviolet? There is no such thing as a fixed reality. And even idealism is based on the fact that my consciousness is producing the physical universe, which is also totally wrong. So we have to address this basic idea, naive realism. Is there a physical world in the absence of an observer? Now, what we call the physical world is a species-specific observation of human experience as we experience it through the 5 senses, which is a very narrow bandwidth of perceptual activity. In fact, less than 0.1% of the activity that's available. So there's nothing, the human visual experience is between 300 to 800 nanometers. There's nothing sacred outside of that, apparently, but we cannot experience it, even with our technologies. Our senses tell us the earth is flat. Nobody believes that anymore. Our senses tell us the ground I'm standing on is stationary and it's spinning at dizzying speeds and hurtling through space at thousands of miles an hour. Our senses tell me that the body is physical. We know it's proportionately as void as intergalactic space. So these are all the things that are now being questioned as naive realism. I've been in conversation with Don Hoffman, who's one of the cutting-edge neuroscientists and cognitive scientists of the world. He's written a book called The Case Against Reality. If you give me a little time, I can search out my magazines here. Let me show you something very interesting. Okay, so these are some of the recent issues of New Scientist that are questioning what we call traditional ideas of evolution, that are questioning the flaw at the heart of reality, that are thinking of a fifth force of nature, that are saying that the universe that we believe in is actually not the universe in reality. So the debate is no longer between idealism and physicalism. It is understanding that matter is a human construct for human perceptual experiences given meaning by human beings. In fact, there is no such thing as a universe. There's no such thing as a physical body. There's no such thing as matter. These are convenient, magical lies that make experience possible and allow us to upgrade our illusion of what we call reality. And, as far as Dawkins, Sam Harris, I've given up on them. But with Sharma, we are having a very good conversation. And, he's now at least having a civil dialogue with me on the fact that we need to question everything we know about reality.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a skeptic, that guy. I really like that. Just questioning everything down to the foundations. I was, when you talk about, that the universe is really, what we see as the universe is really just our perceptions. I love that, because it also kind of makes me realize that, like, everything that I see here in front of me, this computer, your face on the screen, what I feel,
and your own body, and your own body, and your own brain,
and my own body, it's all within consciousness.
Yeah. So I've been speaking about this forever, but now, because Gabriella is part of our team, this is very practical. We cultivate presence. That's it.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. That's a great way to bring it into presence and reality and into the human experience. Before we go back to the human experience, Megan, I know you have some questions. I wanted to just ask one thing. So what if this is all in here, if this experience is all in here, what would happen? What would the universe...
No, it's not in here. This is in that.
Right.
This
in consciousness.
Is in consciousness.
In consciousness. If it's all in
brain and body are also in consciousness.
So
when we say in here, we are again resorting to naive realism.
So would the consciousness still be there and still be experiencing the universe if there were no conscious beings like humans and ants and cats and dogs and stuff?
Good question.
Consciousness is inherently independent of the instruments it uses to have perceptual experience. So consciousness independent of body, mind, and its experiences, because it's free. And being free, it's always infinite possibilities, and it can morph itself into any experience. In fact, right now, we are morphing from the formless into this experience right this moment. Wow. So death is also a human construct based on false identity.
Wow. And so that universal consciousness that transcends and is independent of all these vessels, I guess maybe that's what people call God. I don't know, what everybody has different definitions of things, but I think that's a very powerful thing. The universe consciousness.
Yeah, but as soon as you say God, people have an image. So if you have an image about God, then it's not God. If you can define God, it's not God. Yeah. God is the presence that Gabriella was speaking about.
Yeah, I grew up in a Jewish tradition. I actually went to rabbinical school. It's a long story. And one of the things in like the ancient Torah is that Abraham had destroyed the idols, these idols of God, the representations of God, and you're not supposed to make a representation of God. And I think that there's this ancient wisdom there in that tradition as well, where they realize that as soon as you make a representation of God, you've defined it, and then you've lost it.
Yeah, but again, for humans, it's very important to have symbolic representations of the divine, because the divine ultimately as formless is inconceivable. So yes, those are symbols. The gods and goddesses and the divinities in all religions are symbolic representations of the infinite, which is otherwise incomprehensible.
Yeah, wow. So my last question on the deep stuff, and then Megan, if you want to take it into the home stretch, because I know we got to wrap this up.
It's such a good conversation.
Thank you. I have a question actually from another audience member who was asking, Tamar was asking about, so in MetaHuman, your recent documentary, you had been talking about how the universe is fine-tuned for life. And that's she was saying that is sort of like a part of the intelligent design arguments that a lot of the other religions use, like Western religions tend to use this intelligent design that the universe is fine-tuned, so it must have been consciously designed for life. Now, there's another theory, which is sort of the multiverse theory, which is the infinity, that there's infinite universes and infinite multiverses. So in that theory, the math kind of just works itself out, because in infinity, everything occurs, including life. No matter how unlikely it is, everything will occur an infinite number of times. What do you think about that? About those?
I can quote the Yoga Vaishishta in that. And the Yoga Vaishishta is one of the most ancient, refined texts of Vedanta. And the great Yogi Vaishishta says, infinite worlds come and go in the vast expanse of consciousness. They're like motes of dust dancing in a beam of light that's shining through a hole on my roof. So I do believe in multiverse. And what intelligent design is talking about, the anthropic principle, which is a well-known principle in science, but it's only partially true. So I agree with the current thinking on infinite universes and infinite versions of you, me, and everybody else. In the wisdom traditions, these are called lokas. Loka, L-O-K-A, which is related to the English word
location, I'm guessing he's trying to say.
Yes.
Can you guys hear him, or he's frozen, right?
He's frozen.
Hey, Deepak, you froze for a minute. You were just talking about the word loka. Your audio is not working anymore. You want to try to X out and then join again? Just
No.
Oh, there you are.
This is a hint from the universe that we should terminate our conversation soon.
Okay, wait.
Okay.
The loka. I just want to hear about this, because I personally am really excited about that.
Loka in Sanskrit means location in English. And location in English refers to location in space-time. But the loka actually in Sanskrit means frequency domains of consciousness that appear as infinite locations in space-time.
Wow. Yeah.
You get that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Gabriella, any comment?
I want to add this into the concept of freedom from suffering,
Correct.
meaning because it's important, because this is very important to understand that once you experience consciousness as is, as everything, you are ultimately liberating every framework and construct that has been defined, that has been not your own expansion of being, meaning your identity, the principles, the social constructs, the families, etc., the imposition, all of this DNA, everything, So I'm just bringing it back down. And why freedom from suffering is important, it's because you experience the expansion of all realms. And so what happens is you actually become the universe. And now I'm going to add another Mahavyakya, which is Aham Brahmasmi. So you become the multiple universe of consciousness.
Awesome. That was a great way to wrap up the universe conversation. Thank you, Gabriella. And Megan, Megan's kind of glitching out right now. I know Megan has a couple of questions at the end. I just wanted to, while Megan's computer is stabilizing, I just wanted to throw you one more question from the audience. Forrest asked about the Dreamweaver. You've got a new device called the Dreamweaver, apparently, that goes on your head.
It's in incubation right now, so we're revising it. But basically, it's photic and sound stimulation to get your brain waves into meditation mode, and it's an amplifier of through technology for those people who are beginners.
Awesome. That's so cool. Megan, did you wanna wrap up the interview? You had some down to earth questions to kind of
yes. To bring it down a little bit. Yeah. I mean, this has been so fabulous, and Gabriella, Deepak, just truly what an absolute honor. And you both are just paving the way for today's society and just this new world that we all are shifting into. I would love just to know, because I personally really resonated with just, reconstructing your own sense of identity. And as we enter 2021, and as we, all as a whole, but individually, are creating our own identity, our own story, how do you personally feel that you are going into this new year, just leaving behind the old stories, old timelines, but, kind of accepting and wanting to go into the new?
Well, I think every identity we've assumed since we were a fertilized egg has been provisional. And once you understand that, your only absolute identity is Tat Tvam Asi, Aham Brahmasmi, you're free. That's it.
Wow. Yeah.
And like a story, literally, what I said earlier is like the self is the self, everything. So like a story, for example, on Instagram, it lasts and it goes. And that's the thing. We hold on to our scars more than the space in between.
Wow.
I think that's a perfect
Yes.
ending. Gabriella, thank you so much. Megan, thank you. And very grateful for this conversation. Spread the word. Help us reach critical mass.
Yes.
1 billion people for a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world. Gabriella is at your service. So am I.
Thank you, Deepak and Gabriella. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
It was so lovely to be with you. It's so lovely.
Thank you.
For your
Thank you.
support.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
And you'll be in the magazine soon.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deepak and Gabriella.
Thank you,
Bye,
Megan.
guys. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Kevin.
It's Kevin. Yeah. Okay. See you later. Bye.
Kevin. Yeah, Kevin.